because there is no movement that arises out of a vacuum. All movements arise of social conditions that exist and that have existed historically since Kenya was created or was founded. And that throughout history, Kenyans have struggled for the same social issues that the Gen Zs are currently battling with. So there is no vacuum in the struggle, and there is no vacuum in terms of how this struggle has been fought throughout history. I was talking with Caswell yesterday, and one of the things that we discussed was there were victims in 1963, 1964, throughout history up to today. So when we are talking about justice for the victims, we cannot only just think about the victims of June 25th. We have to think holistically, historically, about all the victims. The Pio Pinto Gamas, the Tom Boyers, the Adwings Codex, the Ochukas, and more recently, the Musandos, and the ones who died in 2018 when I was arrested and the youth actually were demonstrating on the streets and many were shot dead. Those people have not obtained justice. Or last year, when ODM was doing maandamano and many families lost loved ones. We must look at this thing holistically. But coming to the issue of the media, the mainstream media is owned by the people we are fighting against. So let us not be deceived. The Citizen media is owned by Royal Media Group, which is owned by S.K. Macharia, who was the chairman of the campaign committee of Raila Odinga. So when Raila Odinga joins Ruto in the illegitimate coalition, clearly Citizen will start siding with Raila Odinga and William Ruto. Hence, the mistreatment of Caswell during yesterday's show. So we have to see this in context. When you look at The Nation, the editorial director of The Nation was paid school fees for by Raila Odinga. He has loyalty to Raila Odinga personally. So you don't expect the Daily Nation to start covering these things in a balanced way. Look at CNN. Who is the anchor or the reporter for CNN? Has done a great job so far, Larry Mado. But what did he do in 2018 when I was trying to talk about revolution? He shut me out. These are people whose origins and DNA are rooted in the cabal system in Kenya that we need changed. So don't expect anything different from them. In any event, the social media is currently the leading media in the entire world, accounting for more than 80% of media traffic. So once we dominate the social media and we disseminate our information in the social media, we can disregard the mainstream media. We will still encourage people who are invited to go there to construct them. But don't focus on the mainstream so-called media. That media is dead and dying. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the issue that Professor, I don't know whether it was Professor Cheng, but he mentioned that they are having petitions and constitutional challenges in court and blah, blah, blah. And they want to amend the constitution to ensure that Ruto can go without anybody being on the street. With all due respect, a misguided and wrong-headed strategy. Law, and I'm talking here as a veteran lawyer of 30 years standing, law is an instrument of power. Power is not an instrument of law. So law and the judiciary serves the state. You don't expect an instrument of the state to declare that a regime should go home when that regime was elected, even if that regime becomes illegitimate before 2 years like this one. So going to court is wrong-headed when you are dealing with Article 1 of the Constitution, where the people have recalled. The third point I wanted to make, there is nothing wrong with people saying we are anti-government. We are. We want Ruto to go government and his regime. So there's nothing wrong by people saying these things are anti-government demonstrations. Let's embrace that. Yes, they are inherently anti-government. If you are saying this government is incurably corrupt and incompetent and represents a system you want replaced, then you are anti that government. Let us not run away from what we are. Let's look at it as a badge of honor. We are anti-government. We want to replace it. We want it to go. How else do you say that? We are not. Is that we are not calling for the military to take power. We are not calling for a faction of the regime to take power. We are saying all factions of this regime have to go home. The military has to stay in the barrack, and the civilians will sort out everything that we have to sort out. The third point, because I think a statement was made about this, I agree with the statement, but I don't think that we got it clear until the economic situation in the country. I was telling someone yesterday that if you go to a bank and you want to take a loan or a mortgage, you want a house, they will do an analysis of what your income is and what your expenses are per month and then per year. And if the mortgage is going to take more than 40% of your income, you will not qualify for the mortgage. I mean, you will simply not qualify for the mortgage because you will have other things that you are going to take care of other than the mortgage. So which means you will default. Here, we are told that Kenya is using 65% of revenue to pay foreign debt and mainly to pay interest. In fact, to pay exclusively interest, which means these are only interest-only loans. An interest-only loan is a loan where it doesn't matter how long you pay it, you will never be able to touch the principal, which means this debt is in perpetuity. It's an illegal debt because no debt should be in perpetuity. No mortgage runs more than 25 years. So anything that runs more than 25 years has to be legal. But they're telling us this is a debt into perpetuity. Then they're telling us if you take 65% to service the interest, what is left there? What is left there is 35%, right? This 35% is not just going into development. In fact, zero goes into development because 30% goes to recurrent expenditure. The salaries, the benefits, the per diems, the 200 million Ruto tax for jets to Washington, their first lady's office, the second lady, the third lady, the first daughter, whatever you want to call them.